Okay, well, so we are going to start. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, depending on where are you watching us. And welcome to a webinar from Rule to Reality: Detection as Code in Action with Wazuh. I'm Raquel Presas, and I'm one of the Wazuh Ambassadors Coordinator, and it's a pleasure to host today's session and to see so many of you joining us. In this webinar, we'll begin with a brief introduction to Wazuh and a high-level overview of its deployment options. And then we are going to explore the concept of what detection as code is, what is it, and why is it becoming essential for security teams. And we are going to finish with a brief demo and a questions and answers session. Please, for this session, just use the chat or the questions and answers box that you have down here. And I'm honored to introduce our two speakers. First of all, we have Zafer Balkan, joining us from Estonia. He is an experienced cybersecurity leader with a strong background in military and NATO affiliated environments, where he led defensive cybersecurity operations and managed complex IT infrastructures. Today, he brings both a strategic and hands-on technical expertise to security and compliance leadership. And also, we have Kevin Branch joining us from the USA, a long-standing and highly active member of the Wazuh community. He has been working with Wazuh since its early days, delivering training, consulting, and engineering services, and is a founder of Blue Wolf Ninja and Branch Network Consulting. We're really, truly fortunate to have both of them with us today. And now I leave the word to Kevin, if I'm not wrong, and he will start. Thank you very much.
Greetings from out in the country in Indiana. Cold winter day here, and grateful to be part of this webinar and to greet you all. It's nostalgic to lend my voice to Wazuh again after training for so many years for them, and I am looking forward to sharing a little bit of an overview of Wazuh and then leading into the specific and fascinating topic at hand that Zafer is going to share with us. My background in log centralization and log analysis goes decades back to when log centralization meant syslog-d on a Linux box, collecting log events, and where log analysis meant a Linux command line and stringing together with many pipes, greps and seds and awks. And things have come a long way since then. We have powerful tools at our disposal. And I have been delighted to have joined Wazuh along the path since shortly after their founding, and am eager to present them to you today. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to screen share. So Wazuh actually started as, hold on, here we go. Wazuh actually started originally as a fork of the OSSEC project about 10 years ago now. That was originated by Daniel Sid. I used OSSEC, I think, for years before discovering Wazuh, and first was fascinated by their fork of the OSSEC Ruleset, and then their packaging of installers for the agent, and then their fork and increasingly functional Wazuh Manager. OSSE Manager, the analysis side. When they started basically pouring rocket fuel on a powerful but stalled project at that time, they really started making things distinctive. And the thing that won my undying devotion to the project was when they integrated the ELK stack, Elastic Stack, and started turning what was just a HIDS in the form of OSSEC, host level intrusion detection system, mostly command line driven, just flat file storage of logs and alerts both, turned a HIDS into what now is a globally recognized SIEM platform. I have been excited to watch this project grow and become and to truly earn the global recognition that it has now. Santiago's dedication to the principles of open source and continuing to serve the community through this tool has been exemplary and has really been a success and a great example to the open source community. It is rich in integration, integration with other tools, other services, variety of different log sources, and is continuing to grow and improve aggressively. Wazuh also has a stellar public support, community support, tremendous value of the community, tremendous investment in the Wazuh community, both through the Slack channels where I frequent quite a bit, and also Google and some Discord as well. And I again applaud them for making that much investment there. So a little bit more about the specifics of what Wazuh is. Wazuh is probably the leading open source SIEM and XDR platform today, with a robust and yet lightweight agent. For me, it's a key tool in my own cybersecurity arsenal in serving my own MSSP clients for situational awareness. And for many, they lean heavily on Wazuh as well to empower them to security compliance and meeting the requirements that they are subject to. The main elements of the Wazuh solution as a system include the centralized collection of logs, mostly through pulling in logs from agents, as well as agents or even servers pulling in logs from other sources, especially cloud sources. And then log analysis, which we're going to be particularly focusing on the configuring of log analysis and the coordinating and managing of the writing and maintaining of the Wazuh rule set. That's where log analysis happens. And then, of course, usually alert storage being stored in Wazuh Indexer, which is basically derived from OpenSearch. So we have a very powerful document database foundation under the storage and presentation side, which of course also includes the dashboard angle. The agents also support a number of EDR features as well, covering things like file integrity monitoring, system inventory, which supports vulnerability detection, this proactive self-audit scanning of the security configuration assessment feature, and then a rich capacity to integrate with other scripts, programs, APIs, on behalf of particular alerts that happen that call for other action to take place outside of Wazuh, whether that's a Slack message or a firewall smackdown response. The possibilities are near endless through the integrations as well. Wazuh, I like to call Wazuh an ecosystem because it fits all sorts of other things in well and allows them to flourish. The architecture of Wazuh, just in brief here, is primarily one in which we have many different endpoint systems, whether those are servers, users, cloud instances, virtual machines, that are maintaining a continuous connection to the Wazuh servers or Wazuh managers, usually load balanced because when we're scaled up, we have a whole cluster of Wazuh servers. So we have resilience, we have better data integrity, we have scalability in Wazuh, both at the level of receiving and analyzing events coming from agents or collected by agents and relayed from them. And then we have storage in an indexer cluster. Again, it's really open search under the hood that can be scaled out as much as you need. We have, again, data resiliency and vast capacity to not only vertically but horizontally scale this solution. Even multiple dashboard instances are very easy to load balance across as well. So it's a rich architecture. It's resilient. It's scalable, and it's been working really, really well for me with many Wazuh seam stacks of my own clients. So I don't just teach this; I use this. Hold on a second. I think I jumped ahead there. Okay. So now the area we're particularly focusing on is the analysis side and the management of the decoder families and rule families that actually are the foundation for performing analysis. And Wazuh has a broad set of decoder families, a broad set of rule families that can be added to and customized. And when I've taught Wazuh trainings, which I've taught about 100 commercial Wazuh trainings, I teach a process of incrementally. First, you build a top-level decoder, then you build child decoders, then you build a top-level parent rule, then you build the children rules, and systematically build things out and test as you go. Zafer is going to take this to a whole new level where you can do this kind of thing in a much more structured way and coordinating having a history, having verifiability, and having excellent ability to coordinate with team members at a scale that I've not had to do, but I very much appreciate, even though I'm not a software developer. I really appreciate the principles that Zafer is going to be sharing coming from CI/CD, evergreen kind of methodology. He's putting it in reach of us to be able to much more powerfully coordinate and manage a growing rule set. And you have got to grow your rule set to fit your own needs to really effectively make use of Wazuh, even though it's large to begin with. One of the issues with the Wazuh rule set that's both a very positive thing and makes it challenging is that it is hierarchical. We have a tree structure, and that makes Wazuh crazy fast when it comes to analyzing events. It also means that it's a little harder to figure out how to add your own rules and hang them on the tree in the right place to get looked at the right time and not be overshadowed by other rules unexpectedly or overshadow rules that should have fired instead of yours. And this is where the methodology that Zafer is going to be sharing really, really shines. And I would like to hand over now for Zafer to bring the topic, put some meat on the bones of this topic.
Hello everyone, it's Zafer Balkan. I'm from Estonia. I'm actually, I worked, as Rekan mentioned, I worked in military, I worked in private sector. Now unlike Kevin, I'm not as I don't have a consulting business or etc. in Wazuh. I am just like a happy customer or user of Wazuh, and I got experience in time, and I have to working in a very secure and highly regulated environment in payment sector and handling security using Wazuh was a challenge. And during this time, I managed to develop some best practices. And this is basically how this is basically a presentation of how you can also approach in a well-structured, disciplined manner to your rule development And we will do live coding if things go, if there is no problems, if there won't be any issues with the demo guys. We haven't sacrificed anyone yet. So let's see if things will go as expected. I will start by sharing my screen and start with the presentation. Okay, so basically, I hope you can see the presentation. The current approach most of the time that we have is actually a craft approach. Basically, we rely on the analyst or engineer's intuition and ad hoc tuning where some things go wrong, like it can be so noisy, the rule is just rule level is too high, too low, it's creating alerts where it shouldn't have, etc. So you create it, you fix it in time, and basically it takes time. It's an iterative process, and basically the success of the rule that you created, decoders and rule as a whole. Basically, I'll call detections from this point to cover both rules and decoders as a general group. So basically, in order to measure your success, you just check your immediate triggers. Basically, you wrote your decoders, you wrote your rules, you prepared your detections, they created the alerts you want, then you move on, then you forget it. And then they start to accumulate. The issue is that the more they accumulate, the more drift you will have, because as Kevin mentioned, Waza expects you to build the alerts, build the rules in a hierarchical way. And some of those rules are not just alerts, they are just building blocks for better alerts. So basically, you can just parse and add context to just basic logs like Windows 14, 20, 24, 25, logging successful event logs, for instance. You don't just read them as is, you just add some context to those logs through your rules and you use it as a building block. Then you add alerts with more complex detections. But you may even forget that you write a building block, and you can break that hierarchy that has been built throughout the years. And basically, the tree will be unfortunately not in its ideal or optimal condition. So I wrote here the enterprise reality, but it doesn't have to be enterprise. It can be a small, medium business. It can be a school. It can be university organization, small organization, doesn't matter. The reality hits you when things start to scale. Operational complexity, that and pace of the things that are changing, basically starts limiting you with your minor fixes and workarounds here and there. You cannot keep pace with them. Then you will start with weird dependencies and inconsistencies with the logs. You fail to onboard as expected, and you start losing context, or you don't get the full advantage of the logs you're collecting. And unfortunately, yeah, you're collecting, but you're not making use of them in alerting. So this chaotic environment actually mirrors the old software crisis, where software was invented years and decades ago. So basically, just like they do in software engineering, and where they developed the term software engineering, we can make use of the same best practices, and we can learn from them to build a discipline. And this is why this thing is called detection engineering. And if you search for detection engineering as a term, you will see that many, both open source or proprietary SIEM and XDR, EDR, developer EDR companies and organizations will have their own approaches to detection engineering, and even the term itself is not commonly accepted yet. For some, it requires testing. For the others, it doesn't. So here we are basically sailing in a gray area. So basically, what we want with the craft to engineering shift, basically, to get to the engineering, we need to get a discipline use of science, and we need to ensure predictability and under stress, so that these things, these systems that we develop, basically our rules, will work as expected. You will not have surprises. It requires professionalization. You need to learn. You need to know your tools. You need to be professional on them. You need to get experience on them. You need to get, and then you need to ensure predictable behavior, which is what I will show you. This will be just an example. It will be a framework, but what I'm talking about now is a systematic approach. You don't have to use Wazuh just to implement this detection engineering discipline or approach in general. But here, for our topic, we will use Wazuh as our base, our laboratory. And basically, we will focus on the software engineering practices to address the current modern telemetry. Like as Kevin mentioned, we are not collecting just Linux syslog logs now. We have Windows, we have Mac OS, we have Linux devices, we have Kubernetes and Dockerized environments. We have very different cloud instances and etc. And we need to make those logs meaningful. So here, I'm not going to do a dissertation-like talk here, so I'm just going directly into the point. Engineering requires you to work systematically, disciplined, and quantifiable. So you need to be able to measure stuff. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. That is the case. And this is your process part. Now let's get into the technical part, where the life cycle of the rules. You create requirements. What are we going to write? What kind of things we are going to detect? And then you need to have stewardship or ownership, however you want, that you need to manage the rule from end to end. So basically from the creation of them until their end of lifetime. Sometimes you need to change them, sometimes you need to delete them, depending on the case. Basically, you had an old storage device that you don't have, and basically you just need to get rid of all decoders and old rules. Basically, those detections do not matter in your new environment. Then you need to also be able to retire, decommission the system. So basically, you need to think about the detection lifecycle end to end. And then we have the software engineering book, body of knowledge. It's a huge book, but there are two good terms that I took: verification and validation. Did we build this thing correctly, and did we build the right product? And we are going to show you how. This is a very long one, but I'll just say step by step. Check the requirements. What are we going to get? What are we going to get from the logs that we are collecting? Then we will start designing, implementation, verification and validation. I will show you in the demo. And deployment, we will use GitHub for that. And then it's just going to continuous improvement with refinement and retirement. Verification and validation, the same words I mentioned. Are we building the product correctly? Are we building the right product? We will get to there. Now, another buzzword, detection as code. Basically, XML is not a code. You cannot calculate 2 + 2 with XML. It is a configuration, or it is data, depending on how you handle it. But you can make it work as code if you manage to make it testable. So you write a test code on top of current rules so that you know your detections work as expected. For this, I created a validation workflow in a controlled environment. I am using WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux, for this environment. And in the demo, I will show you how it works, Wazuh development environment. It has a pipeline, and it has this from logs to rule pipeline that we will demonstrate, and then you validate if you are doing things correctly. I will mention that we are just going to check. You might be using the Wazuh's own static fields, dynamic fields, etc. Wazuh currently in 4.x version does not use a standard schema, so you can be flexible with them, but still you need some standards to apply these principles for your normalization, for your naming your fields, etc. So and then you need to add meaningful context to the logs, basically. Because of this customization tax, basically, when you have every environment is unique. So basically, when you start building stuff, you cannot just copy paste. You will start customizing it to your environment. And basically, this is the hidden cost. This is the customization tax that they are mentioning. Basically, in time, your rules will start differing, drifting from where you copy paste it or where you find them out. Like you can just get some rules from Wazuh blogs that are at least published weekly. But in your environment, things might have been configured differently, and basically customization will take time and effort, human effort. And when you don't approach it systemically, unfortunately, it doesn't scale. So here we will use automation, some regressions to it, and we will have a life cycle properly. For these kind of things, I am giving you keywords to Google. Kyle Bailey has a matrix for maturity models. Elastic Security has detection engineering maturity model. And please search on them and find best practices if you can apply to your environment. And you can use it with Wazuh as well, because these are just maturity models. These are for you to be able to Google them and read about them. Now, here in the future of SOAP, we need to get from craft to engineering in a professional manner. We need to be able to measure the uncertainty, as most importantly. We need sustainable defenses, because in time you can break stuff, and the discipline is unfortunately new. It is maturing. It will take time, and this is why we are in a 101 like detection engineering 101 like presentation here. Now, in the demo, I will show you how we approached with Kevin. So,
Zafer, could I interject something just briefly?
Yeah.
This is showing us a way to move from what I would call cowboy engineering, where just off the cuff kind of work, which is how I used to do things for a long time until I learned better, to a maturing approach that's responsible, sustainable, scalable, makes it possible to coordinate without having to be academic or even formalized. It's practical and it's reachable to us, whether or not we're software developers. We can take advantage of this model and incorporate it into the real style of managing and growing our rule sets, even when there's a team involved, or even when you're just trying to keep track of what you did last week. So I just want to commend that. And the more we can reduce and manage complexity, we can focus on creating the creative content that really does the job at hand. All right, back to you, Zafer.
Thank you. Here on the screen, you are seeing that we just created a demo environment in a imaginary organization, and there the senior engineer opened a ticket. Here, Kevin opened the ticket saying that in our organization we decided to install Sysmon for Linux on our servers. And here I would ask to start onboarding sample events, and we start iteratively, basically. And basically, they want me to create basic alerts per event for with proper severity level, and rules needs to have groups custom for differentiating built-in Wazuh rules and our custom rules, and it needs to have the Sysmon Linux. So basically, the requirements are simple. So as I mentioned in the cycle, we will start with the requirements, and here they are. And you see that they only started with 3 different events, even though Sysmon has so many. Our task is simple, but what you see is that the syslog format is followed at up to one point, and basically Sysmon for Linux follows the Windows approach after that point and uses an XML formatted log, and I have a very long one. It's not easy to read from here, so I will proceed it through here to show you. Basically, the first part is the timestamp, second is the host name, and the third one is the program. So this is our first hint. We can use program part so that this will be our parent decoder. This is an opportunity for me. And second one, the requirement, is to capture the event IDs properly. So basically, I need at least 2 fields. I need to extract at least 2 fields. And then there is also the system time, because this one is this time here mentioned does not have to always match the event's original time. There might be a time drift between syslog, and when it comes to Wazuh timestamps are also time of ingestion, not time of event. Therefore, you need to be able to distinguish when you build a proper timeline. This is why these are important. So basically, here I try to make those rules readable for you. Event 1, 3, and 5. It is hard to read for you, so I'm not going to get field by field. The one highlighted here, yellow one, is the system section, basically a block where they put the event ID, the provider name, which is basically Linux Sysmon. It's the same everywhere. The schema version and some other details that currently in our demo environment we are going to ignore because, well, my senior engineer didn't ask me. We will start minimally. And the second part is the events data, where all the fields change depending on the event ID. So currently, I want only to separate the rules, but regarding the fields, we have not gotten any requirements, so they will basically come in future iterations. So what kind of hints we have? We need them to match some reasonable levels, and just for every rule, you need to have a look at the rules classification part. Please don't put arbitrary numbers in severity in levels and use this rules classification in the Wazuh documentation. And basically, in our case, event ID 1, 3, and 5, basically process created, a network connection happened, and a process terminated. These are regular events, so basically successful and or authorized events. Just level 3, we know. So here is my mental model. I will have a group, and in the group, I will have 4 rules. I will possibly have 4 rules at the beginning, a root, and then 3 different child rules under it based on event IDs. So first we will write our decoders, and in the end, I would like to have something like this in a hierarchical way. So this is my mental model, and we will continue with this one. And now we will use this methodology, software development methodology called red-green refactor. It means that you write your test first, and you don't have your rules yet, which means when you write your tests and you run your test, all will fail. Everything will be red. Basically, this is expected. So one by one, you write your decoders, you write your rules, and then you ensure those rules and decoders allow you to pass the tests. And when all the tests go green, then you are fine. Then you can go refactoring. You can go doing minor improvement. You can do fine tunings and etc. So in our environment, I will basically take over from the logs here, and I will write code. So what I will do here, I have basically a WSL environment, Ubuntu. So here, Wazuh dev environment demo folder is, I don't know if you can see. So I will just cd, and I will open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, it opened in the other monitor. So let me drag it for you. So there you will see the connection details. You don't need those. You can just open a new terminal and proceed as is. But basically, this is going to be ready when you follow these steps here. Which steps? Basically, they are mentioned in the original repository. Here you can just follow those installation steps, and when everything is done, basically you will be able to clone the Git repository, and you will have this project ready for you. Will have is your custom rules, the ones under var, ossec, etc rules, and var ossec, etc decoders will be mounted here actually. And these are examples I had in those blog posts, and the blog posts I mentioned are also linked at the beginning of the README. So basically, if you, after this webinar, I suggest you to have a look at this and look at these and start from the last one, because this will give you the philosophical perspective to complete this webinar. And then these others will show you how to do things from simple one to complex ones in a really structured manner. So
at the end, we'll point at the specific GitHub repo that he's referring to. This is just the demo, but he'll point you to that for your reference afterwards.
Exactly. So we will go to tests folder. In the test folders, there is this logic. There is this pre-flight test, basically checking if Wazuh file permissions and services up and running. You don't need to touch anything. There is behavioral test. It's empty. Don't need to touch anything. Regression test is what we want. What is regression? It worked today. It doesn't work tomorrow because you did a change, you break something. So this is what we call regression in software engineering. So we ensure you didn't break the things when you added something new or when you changed some rules. This is why they are regression tests. And under custom, I only have these FortiGate rules. Right now, we are going to live code the Linux Sysmon for Linux rules and tests with you. So let's start writing Sysmon linux.file. So we have the file ready, and now we need to write tests. But I'm not a software developer. I don't know how to start with. You don't need to. You can just get back to here, the original README part, and in the README you will have the sample code. So basically, let's copy from here, and we will reuse or delete related or unrelated parts. So basically, this one, test my new rule. Let's change the name, test sysmon for Linux. Now we are fine. Let's start with a very basic test. So let's call this test event ID 1 must trigger a level 3 alert. This is our test. So basically, this will be our first test. Let's start with this one, and the rest will be easier. So I will just copy the code from the ticket, because we now have this process creation code, process creation log already. So instead of using it this way, in Python, you will have these raw strings where you can add weird characters and it's not going to trigger errors. So it's better to use that one. Then basically what we do, we send the logs to Wazuh instance, and then you will get a response. So in response, what do you have? You don't have to know everything by heart. Your IDE will help you. The response basically is what you see in Wazuh dashboard as well. And basically you can see those here. So in our environment, what I will have, basically, I'm deleting. Now let's check what we want to test. Okay, we want at least one rule match, right? And I don't want to test the rule ID actually, because the more tests you write, the more concrete you make your rule base. It means you lose your flexibility. It means your rule base will be more fragile. You need to change two things at a time. This will create, unfortunately, inertia. Basically, you will start not wanting to change anything because of the work you will need. So basically, you are trying to minimize the tests you would like to. So what we will do, we will test that there is at least one rule match, and rule level must be 3, as we mentioned. So basically, I don't need this comment here, so I can just ignore. And basically, this will be my first test for event ID 1. So this will be the same for event ID 3 and 5 as well. What will change? Rule name will change, event ID 3, and log will change. So
and you can easily have many different logs piled into that one rule when you have multiple samples, and they can be tested in bulk as well.
Exactly. So basically, you wrote your second test. Now let's go to the other one. And basically, this should be event ID 5. And you just copy the event ID 5 logs from the ticket, from your samples. You can obtain them from archive logs. You can obtain them from tickets. However, it works for your environment. So basically, I have now 3 tests. Let's get to here and let them discover. There are pre-flight tests. There are some custom tests. There are built-in tests that we are not touching today. Basically, these are all thousands, hundreds of tests I copy-pasted from Wazuh environment to this framework. We are skipping them. So basically, we have sysmon for Linux. tests. Let's run them. 1, 2, 3, all red. So why? Because of in the PowerPoint slide, we mentioned we are in red phase here. We need to now write our decoders. We need to write our rules so that our test will pass, right? So let's get back to here and write our tests. First, we need to start with a decoder. Let's create a new file. Let's call it sysmon for Linux decoder.xml, if I write correctly. Yes. Now, what was our mental model? If you remember, we had this program name. Let's get back to that slide. You see that here we had this sysmon. So basically, my initial decoder will be very, very simple. Let's write decoder name first, sysmon-linux. This will be very, sorry, UK keyboard. This is the parent decoder that I mentioned. Now, program name is sysmon. Now we have at least the parent decoder. Now we need to get the event ID from there, right? So, but you will see that event ID here is in an XML format. And unfortunately, putting those, you see here, these brackets, unfortunately, can create issues when you use in regex patterns. So what we have in Wazuh documentation, you have this /p, which is a punctuation mark. We are going to use that. Let's write our first child decoder. Decoder name sysmon-linux-fields. Now, yeah.
You may want to paste in whole examples in interest of time.
Okay, however you want. Let me just explain this one first, then we can proceed. We can just copy paste stuff. And then we have this parent. Basically, you know how to write parent. Sysmon-linux. And then you just write your regex and you just write your order of these. So basically, here a punctuation mark, event ID, punctuation mark, some digit, and another punctuation mark, event ID, blah, blah. So we assign it to this one. This is the first part. Then you can proceed with other fields like system time, even though it's not expected to write. This is what is expected. Now you can run the test one more time. You will still fail, but at least they will be decoded. These fields will be extracted. You can test using Wazuh log test. Now let's proceed with a better the better part, the rules. So for the rules, because of time concerns, unfortunately, I will have to be brief and copy paste. I will explain the rules, but it will be very easy to read for you as well. Basically, if it is decoded as sysmon-linux, basically the decoder name is sysmon-linux, basically assign it a level 2. Then, this is description, then the child rules, and assign them level 3. If event ID is 1, if event ID is 3, if event ID is 5. Now, we will run the pre-flight test, and you will see that we will have some failures. Why? the new rules you created does not unfortunately meet the WASA requires a file permissions, and you already have a solution. You have this fixed permissions script here, but it needs to be run as sudo. So let's write it. Sudo fixed permissions. Now let's get back to testing. Okay, test file permissions, it works, but it doesn't end here. Now we need to reload the rules. And with recent versions, Wazuh allowed us to do something, reloading without restarting. War, OSEC, bin, Wazuh control, reload. And now we are reloading the rules without restarting, rules and decoders without restarting. And then when everything has started, we can run our tests once again. Okay. There you go. Now we are in the green step. Now from this point on, you know that your rules trigger at least one rule, and that rule is level 3. You can proceed with more. You can proceed. Do they have enough? Do they have correct groups? Do they have other stuff? But this is your baseline. So basically, I'm just going to sum up and finish this demo here. So basically, after this demo, you see that there is an approach. You can just compensate Wazuh rules with, you can complete Wazuh rules with Python or any other language of your work that make them testable. Because craft doesn't scale, you need engineering. If you cannot measure, it's not engineering. In order to do the right thing and do the things right, you need to be able to test this like this. You need to be able to ensure things work as expected. Detection engineering is an approach. Detection as code is basically just an operation, CI/CD, blah, blah. So what happens is that when I write this code, I can use GitOps. What do they call this GitOps? Basically, I can just create a PR, send the PR, and the PRs will be checked. I would have created and started for you, but it would take time. So basically, your code will be checked, your tests will be run. Basically, you see that it takes 13 minutes to run all these tests, and it's basically succeeded all those hundreds of tests, and basically we know our code works. And even if you don't use this GitOps thing that I'm showing you, you still might need to learn how to use Git. And basically, please write minimum amount of tests. And that's all from my side. We are now open for your questions.
Well, thanks both of you, Kevin and Zafer, for this wonderful explanation and this demo. We've opened the chat more like at the end of the talk, and in general, please, all the attendants, please just write your questions. You can use the questions and answers box, or you can use the chat as you prefer. Regarding the question that has been done, yeah, we will share the link of the recording after this session by email, and also we will upload it to the Wazuh official YouTube channel. So let's see if there is any question coming up.
Let's also share a link to the GitHub site that actually hosts the solution along with it. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah. So let's see, because we have now both things opened.
Just a brief comment while we're waiting on questions to come in.
I got an anonymous question there. I'd like
go ahead.
to by myself. Thanks. request to create a blog, which will help us to implement. Basically, I sent a link to the development environment that you see in the Visual Studio Code. And in this README, if you go to the bottom, you will see the blog post. You will see 3 blog posts, and you can step-by-step implement from downloading, preparations, prerequisites, etc. And you can proceed, and then you can use the demo that you see. It is publicly available. And basically, you can implement GitHub workflows and other stuff. Basically, you can just copy paste and proceed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Well, oh my God, there are lots of questions coming up now. Okay, is it possible to indicate this information in Spanish? That's a question that we have here in the chat. It's a bit difficult, but thanks for coming up with this. We will try. Thank you. Here you have another question. It says, is WSL installation supported officially by Wazuh for testing?
Okay, good question. Wazuh, as Kevin mentioned, has multiple components, and we are only installing the Wazuh manager on the WSL, which means we don't have the dashboard, we don't have the indexer, basically the fork of OpenSearch. We don't have those. We only have the real-time processor part where analysis has been done. So the log test happens on the Wazuh manager, basically in real time or near real time, depending on your workload. It can be buffered, but basically it works as expected, as if you will just install Wazuh manager as if you install a regular Ubuntu server. But in that repository, you will have an installation script that will handle everything for you.
Okay, great. Let's see if we have something else. Zafer, here it says that request to create a blog post which will help us to implement. You already have it in your website.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
set it again, you will have it, and it's with the same title, the detection as code.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention one
Perfect.
more thing. You might have questions there, and I shared the link of the repository, and their discussions are enabled, so you can just get there and then start asking questions. You don't have to try to find email addresses or some other stuff. Just get to the repositories, start a discussion. We can discuss if you have problems on installation or if you have problems in configuration, whatever you have. Just write your questions.
Mm-hmm.
We are a community here, and everybody will help each other.
Well, thanks so much, Zafer and Kevin, for collaborating with this webinar. We are finishing here. And please, of course, for all the community, we have our community channels opened, and any of us will be pleased to answer. Thank you very much for attending, and hope to see you in the next one.